Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, welcoming the hilarious Adam Carolla with his new movie, Road Hard, which he co-directed and co-wrote. So get ready for a great day behind the velvet rope. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and I've been a big fan of this guy for a long time, Mr. Adam Carolla.
Thanks,
So
Arthur.
happy that you're joining me. And you've got a movie you directed, you wrote. You're a busy guy, a show on Spike TV. I saw you were doing the upfronts.
Yeah.
And you can't access your calendar, as I cannot right now. So how do you keep track of all this stuff?
Oh, computers. I hate those things. I'm at this point being led by the short hairs by your associate Lee over there, who, by the way, is going to WrestleMania with his mom 2 weeks from now. With his mom. All right. I'm glad you gave me a senior associate over here. Guy's going to WrestleMania with his mom. This guy's in charge of my schedule, everybody.
To Lee's credit, he is the best. He's a great guy.
He's fine. Just ask his mom. I mean, we can all remember going to WrestleMania with our moms back in the what? All right.
Speaking of WrestleMania, you have this new movie out,
yeah,
Road Hard.
sorry.
It's a lot of fun. It's about this middling comedian who he had like a Seinfeld-like career, and now he's struggling, he's trying to make money, and people don't realize the life of a middling comedian is not a great life. You're on the road, you're alone, it sucks. And when you have friends who are ultra famous and kings of late night, it sucks even more. Talk to me about putting this story together, directing it, writing it, all the good stuff.
I had to, in '09, go out on the road really for the first time and hit it hard because I got fired from my radio job. There were, the economy tanked. It was '09. Everything was tanking. There were no more radio jobs. I'd done radio for 15 years with an unbroken, didn't take a weekend off kind of streak. And all of a sudden I was out of a job. I'd done TV for 15 years, just pretty much nonstop. And I found myself in the middle of '09 with no job. And the phone was not ringing. And I said, I'm hitting the road. And I put together a 90-minute stand-up set, and I hit the road. And I said, if the first show sells out at Cobb's in San Francisco, add a second show. And if the second show sells out, add a third. And I was just doing like 100 minutes of comedy 3 times a night, just staying in crappy hotels and, flying Southwest. And it was really humbling to be doing this at this stage in my career. And then it was also a lot of people going, oh, as you're getting on the Southwest flight, what are you doing here, man? Why aren't you flying in net jets, dude? So I really got a crash course 1 year, just try to kill yourself by burning yourself out on the road, because I had no job. I had young twins, and I told the booker, man, whatever you got, throw it at me.
You were hustling, man.
I was getting my hustle on, and I learned a lot, about myself, but I also learned, I had not hung out in green rooms and been to all these comedy, I'd done a little here and a little there, but I was all over the place. And I thought, wow, this is a really interesting story because it's so humbling, to have this backwards step in life. And I just thought this would be a really interesting subject for a movie.
What's fascinating is you're talking about 5 years ago. It's as soon as '09, and here you are. You've got the #1 podcast pretty much in the world. You've got a show on Spike that's keeps going. And 5 years is not a long time. So to see how far it's all come, and also the ability that you've been able to use the internet and build this following around your podcast is insane. Plus you're doing all the Fox appearances. When you look at that 5-year span from really having to rebuild your career to thriving right now, talk to me about it.
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, because I would have said no to some of the gigs in Mansfield, Pennsylvania, playing to, 13 college kids while it was snowing out. But Yeah, it was. I remember saying I had we did a couple of live gigs at the end of '09, and I said, it's barely 5 years. I said to the booker, 2010, that's the year of the live show. And it was all 2010. So it was the end of '09 and then all through 10. And when I got through 10 into 11, it was sort of like, well, now the podcast is starting to work a little, but not so much that I can completely get off the road. So we still kept, so my podcast success and my sort of road dates, if there was a graph, it'd be like as the podcast got more successful, the road dates calmed down. And then also you figure out at a certain point, you say, now look, we just played 2 nights at the Guffaws in Kirkland, Washington, and we sold out 3 shows each night. And the place holds, 300 people. So we just sold 1,800 tickets. But I had to do 6 shows. The Moore Theater in Seattle, 20 miles from here, holds 1,900 people. What if I come back next year and I do 1 show at the Moore and put all the people in for 1 show?
Comedian economics.
Wouldn't that be a lot nicer to do 1 show for 1,900 people than 6 shows, 300 at a time? And eventually start to kind of figure that out too.
When you look at using new technology with the podcast, it's a brave new frontier. It's totally, we were on a Netflix red carpet last night, and the popularity of streaming TV is even as big, if not bigger now than broadcast television. Your podcast has just created a whole new audience for you.
Well, the thing that's really interesting about the podcast as well is we've created this new almost art form, which is the live podcast. So tonight I go to Caroline's and Artie Lang and
Dag.
Oh, David Allen Greer, right? Sorry,
yeah. Love David.
Love David. He's in the movie. David Allen Greer is Road Hard. So he joins me on stage tomorrow night. We go there. Artie Lang again, Howie Mandel, and Alec Baldwin on stage doing a free-formed, like, I had to explain to Alec Baldwin what it was, because he's like, what do you mean a podcast, on stage in front of a sold out, whatever, what are we doing? And I said, think of it as like a jazz, like we're jamming, but it's comedy, but I'll always be keeping the beat. So you don't have to worry about like soloing, but we've sold out theaters and clubs all over the country doing a live podcast, which is, it's not scripted, it's not worked out, it's not rehearsed. Alec Baldwin's not going to know what he's doing tomorrow night, and Howie Mandel's not going to know what I'm doing or Alec's doing, and I'm not going to know what they're doing either, and we're just going to go up. And it's this new form of free-form, totally improvised comedy that is working. I wouldn't have, so back in 2010 and 2011, I wouldn't have thought that there was such a thing as a live podcast, but now there is.
Has it blown you away to see the success of it and how big it's gotten?
I am, when we go to Seattle and we play like a 750 seat theater and we sell out 2 shows, doing a live podcast, no Alec Baldwin in Seattle, by the way. Yeah, that's a little surprising to me, because I'm like, you do know this is going to be me making crap up in real time. This is not a stand-up routine. But people want, I think it's the kind of reality thing now where people don't want the pre-rehearsed jokes and the stuff that's been cooked and worked over, but they want to see the thinking in the process, and they want to see it happen in real time.
Speaking of process, you're catching contractors out there right now. How did this show come about? And Spike seems to really like it.
Yeah, Spike likes it. They just came to me and they said, you're a contractor or a former contractor, you're a current comedian. We need somebody with some contracting chops who can also talk. And who else, they're going to get? Andy Dick. And that's it. We bust, shady contractors, and it's a sort of a guilty pleasure show. But I got to say, I got 8-year-old twins, and they like it. Like, they like watching the show. They like Spike, come in and bust the guy and put the house back together, and the women are crying at the end, and it's like
they take joy in other people's horror. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good show. Like, it's how I tell people, how can you go wrong? You have someone who's screwed over by a contractor. We go track that guy down, set up a sting house, bring him in for an estimate, and bust him, and then go get him back to the house to fix it. How can you go wrong with that combination,
Especially when Spike lets you bend the boundaries.
Yeah.
That works great.
Yeah, they're fun, and they let us do what we got to do. And then if also it's like, hey, if it ain't broke, it's a good formula. It's pretty easy,
How about getting behind the camera? You directed this movie. Was it a challenge because you star in it? I'm always curious, when you're behind the lens, are you more critical of yourself? Is it easier to say, that guy, he's doing a good job over there?
Yeah, I co-directed it, and because I was in damn near every scene, but with good people who could act. So don't not see the movie because I was
awesome.
Yeah, I realized that my filmmaking technique is hire a bunch of people, or forget about hire, convince a bunch of people who can act, and then I'll be in every scene with you, but it'll kind of be your scene. That the movies is sort of someone else's scene in most the scenes, Larry Miller, whoever. So that's my technique, and I can't see. It's funny because you go behind the lens. I can't because I'm in every scene, just about.
Right.
So on very rare occasion, there's 2 or 3 scenes that I'm not in, I guess. But really, there's a guy sitting in Video Village. He's looking at monitors, and a lot of it is technical. A lot of it is just the camera movement wasn't right, the shadow wasn't right, there was a shadow on your face or whatever, audio, whatever. I hate to make it sound so unsexy, but a lot of it's do it again just because the camera move, the pan was weird or whatever it is.
I would never be a director. I'm too anal. I would go nuts.
Well, again, the people say they've directed themselves in a movie. You can direct your own acting. I don't need to direct David Koechner. He's a good actor.
Right.
I just tell him what the role is and let him do it. But as far as directing yourself, you have to sit in Video Village and look at the monitors and see what the camera is seeing to really direct yourself. And you can't be in 2 places at once, and that's the problem. So to anyone who says I directed myself in this movie, it's kind of. It's a little BS-y. You need somebody with a set of eyeballs and a couple of brain cells to rub together needs to be in that Video Village staring at that monitor.
So you've got the Spike show, you've got Fox stuff, you've got the podcast. What's next for you? Another book? What's next for Adam Carolla?
I have another book.
4-time New York Times bestseller soon.
That would be nice. Yeah, I think that book's coming out in May, so I'll be back around to hit that. And yeah, but right now it's this movie, and then after that it's a Paul Newman racing documentary.
Awesome.
And then it'll be the book. So that Paul Newman, this will be now, March 6th. That Newman doc, I think, is the 22nd of April. And then the book is, I don't know, May something.
Congrats, man.